So today I'm going to make a short video about gardening. It's a skill that requires a little bit of space, a lot of patience. It requires, of course, plants, and you need some soil. These are some peas that I'm growing in the yard right now. These are called sugar snap peas. Actually, these are snow peas. These are great in things like stir fry and a variety of things. You can eat them just straight off the plant. They taste really good. These are kind of a little past their time, but um, if you look down here, they have some pretty nice soil. This is a bean plant that I've got started, but they have some pretty nice soil. It's pretty nutrient rich. It has a lot of organic matter. These are wood chips, and it's got bugs in there. It's got our decomposers in there. It's got enough clay to hold water, and it's pretty ready to produce good plants. Now these peas have been attacked a little bit, you can see here, by some bugs, but that happens. I don't spray or use anything that's harmful to humans or harmful to pets or anything like that in my yard. I know in big plots they sometimes spray for pesticides, but I choose not to. So these are my peas. I water them pretty much every day. Sometimes I skip a day if it's not too hot. I'll take you over and walk you around the yard a little bit. I have a very small garden, but it's packed with flowers. It's packed with flowers. These are called nasturtiums. And this plant is a jasmine that's growing up high and has lots of flowers. A garden can have both flowers and edible foods. So not all gardens have just edible foods. Sometimes they have nice beds with flowers in them. And gardening is something that I choose to do a lot because it's beautiful, it's restful, and also produces good fruit and vegetables. So here I've got some basil in the foreground. We've got some basil in the foreground here. These have already been harvested for some pesto. And I have large tomatoes that are going to be ripe in the next, I would say about 3 weeks or a month. These are called Better Boy. And I get the starts at the hardware store. And there's going to be a lot of fruit on there. In the back, I have some garlic that I planted in the back there. Those produce garlic bulbs like you get at the supermarket. And I have about 20 of those. Garlic's good for everything from pizza to pasta. You need it for pesto. You need it to marinate anything, especially meats. So this is that's one bed right there of tomatoes. And then over here, not all gardens have everything that works out. There's a lemon that's not doing so well. But fortunately, the tomatoes next door are going pretty well. I have a very small garden, very small backyard, but I make the most of it. So those are some more tomatoes, and I have some peppers growing up under here. If you look here, they're starting to droop. They're starting to droop down, and each one of these little flowers is going to be a pepper. And these are jalapeno. I choose to grow jalapeno because they're pretty easy to grow and they taste really great in salsa. over here, I'm going to walk us around. This is an artichoke plant that I have. It's probably about 5 feet wide by about 6 feet tall. And these are my sunflowers here. My sunflowers are, I would say they're about 12 to 15 feet tall. Well, I would say 12 feet tall. And then over here I've got some onions growing in a small barrel. And the onions taste really, really good. The bulbs down here are just starting to really come into maturity, and they are great in a whole bunch of things, especially grilled. And if I swing over here, you can see another one of my beds. This bed right here is filled with beans. These are beans right over here. This is an eggplant right here. And in the middle is arugula and kale. Those are two deep greens that are very good for your body, good for digestion. And if you can see back in the corner, that's my lime. Happens to love that corner. Got a lot of fruit on that lime. And down here I've got some cucumbers started in the other side of the bed. And I've got them trellised up, which means that they grow up on something so that when the flowers turn to cucumbers, that the cucumbers are nice and long and aren't eaten by any bugs. In fact, you could see a cucumber just starting right here. That little thing in the middle is going to be a cucumber where the flowers attach to it. This is more kale. I've got to show you something that I've sowed directly. These are called cilantro. Another great ingredient right here that I've direct sowed onto the ground. That means that I've put the seeds right onto the ground. And I have to show you this one thing in addition to these other beautiful plants. Sorry. Cam's a little unsteady there. But over here are my blackberries. And if you can see that, there are, this is just one small section. There are probably, 100 to 200 blackberries right in that spot. But then I walk down here, and then there's just blackberries for as far as the eye can see, all the way down across the house. Just blackberries. They're not ripe yet, but they are going to be heavily laden with fruit. And there's a cluster right there of probably 30 or so. Just right there. And you can see I've got hundreds of those clusters. So I'm expecting probably quite a few thousand blackberries. Cam is stuck here on some of them. I got the blackberries that don't have any thorns. Up here are some raspberries that are doing pretty well. These need to be picked. They don't do better the longer you leave them. In fact, the more you pick them, the better they grow. And this raspberry plant is going to have quite a few. You can see a lot of bees in my yard. This raspberry plant's going to have quite a few raspberries just on this one section alone. Not to mention over here and over there in the background. Over here in the shady area, because the blackberries really like a lot of sun. Over in the shadier area, I've got blueberries. I've got blueberry plants that are producing some blueberries in there. They need a lot of shade. Anyway, that's a tour of my back garden. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about plants and show you some tips and tricks on my post for today. Very small house, but in the front of my house I like to grow some plants too, some more flowers, and do some gardening as well. These are daylilies right here, and these long stemmed things right here are going to be gladiolus. I've got some roses that are flowering, and over here I've got this is sage. You can actually cut that and put that on meats and roasts and things like that, and goes very well with turkey and chicken. And over here I've got some oregano that you can harvest, and you can dry it there and there. I don't have a lot flowering right now, but and I don't have a very big space, but try to make the most of my space. It's not a super busy street, but you can hear some of the cars in the back. People going to work. This is called Abutilon. This makes a really beautiful flower. And over here, these are I forget the name of them. But over here I've got some succulents, and I've got a big luck plant, jade plant in the front. Want to just get a close-up of this beautiful plant called Columbine. And it produces one of these really, really pretty flowers. Very striking purple flower with a white around it and some yellow in the middle. Very, very, very pretty. And these are gardenia. A very smelly, wonderful tropical plant.